Welcome back to the show, everyone. Episode 86. We are back after a loaded summer where there was so much going on. I'm Michele Kline with Kline Hospitality and Stephanie Ledger. How are you?
Good. How are you? Wow, it's
Good.
crazy. Crazy summer.
Crazy summer, as opposed to many of you may think, because our resorts are very busy during the summer, we may not be, but that's not the case. We are out there grinding it just like anybody else. So, coming out of a great, super productive summer for both of us, very exciting for all the hotels that we were able to participate with and collaborate with. And it was a really well deserved rest, I have to say.
Yes.
So, Stephanie, tell me about what we're going to talk about today. I know it's like a little bit of a potpourri recap of what went down.
Yeah, so let's start off with the recapping of our summer. So you and I, we went to Vegas and worked with a few hotels on training on our WTF training segment, which I think was so much fun on working with so many leaders in Las Vegas and getting them ready for season. So what was your favorite highlights from our training?
I don't know if I can say it's only one thing. I think that the level of connection that we were able to create with all the groups that we worked with while we did the summer kickoff in Vegas, it was really enlightening to see how they were completely energized and they were so excited about not only connecting what a great, memorable customer experience looks like, but how can I bring that to my team? How can we create those moments, those experiences internally? And I think that one of the things that was it has to be like it always is. One of my favorite things to do is bring connecting activities. I don't call them icebreakers. I don't like that word. I think it's very old. But bringing those connecting activities to all the groups that we worked with, I think that every group had a very good reaction to them. And I think that they were able to create some very meaningful conversations out of those activities that we brought in. So I think that was probably my favorite part. What about you? Do
Yeah.
you have
No,
a favorite
absolutely.
part?
The whole thing being in Vegas. But yes, I agree with how we were able to make so many of the topics relatable of what they could be able to do in their department, whether that be guiding their own employees or also too of working on their own customer service skills and making it relatable to their department. So I think that was a great highlight, and seeing them having that aha moment instead of being like, well, how can I bring this to my department? And that's great, especially with our backgrounds, coming from the operations, where we were able to give them those different tools so they could bring it back and having it relatable to their department. And then also too, of course, of all the activities, because we're fun and we're not having that traditional classroom style of here you are for 8 hours and now you're just going to hear me speak, but really how we were able to changing it up for the training and doing activities, doing conversations, and a little workbook as well.
Of course, something they can take with them and retrain their teams with a bit of a guideline and some work in classroom
Exactly.
work. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I
Yes.
think that also the fact that as you walk into those rooms, it's definitely something that they're not expecting. Here comes another training and another
Mhm.
facilitator. And what I've noticed is that a lot of them did not know what we did as far as the podcast where we share all these training tips. So they weren't expecting what the experience was going to look like. And I think that was a pleasant surprise for all of the attendees of this training. So that was great.
Exactly. And, you know, not to toot our own horn or plug our own podcast, but it's great too for all of those leaders being able to continue the training by
Yep.
listening to us, and also to even engaging with us and giving us different topics of what they want to be able to learn more about, or what their challenges that may be running into.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. Yes.
So we kicked off our summer with some fun training, and then I came back to see you in Vegas for
You
the
just can't get enough, can you?
I know.
It's like Vegas is your happy place.
Exactly. I know, it's always
Shh, don't let
fun.
Miami hear this.
It's the hotel Disneyland, that's what I always say.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I came back to Vegas, and you and I walked the floors for the hospitality show, their first conference that they held at the Venetian. And boy, did we have a blast.
It was definitely an interesting week. I was exhausted by the end. I was done, so tired, but we had a lot of fun and we were able to connect with a lot of people. That was great. Really, the
Mhm.
turnout, a show that took so little time to prepare, that typically takes no less than 12 months. It was, I think it took like 8 months worth of focus, or 6 months, and that was pretty much it. So I think the turnout was really great. I think the educational sessions were enlightening. The topics were very relevant. So I loved it. I think it was really great. I would have liked to see a little bit more of the foot traffic funneled into the expo floor. And I think a few of the vendors were feeling that as well. I feel like maybe a little more excitement on the expo floor would have been nice. But also, we dealt with all the issues with airlines and people not being able to make it to their destination. And on the other hand, working against the successful high tech that has been an industry power expo for so many years, right? So I'm looking forward to what next year looks like. I can't recall when the is it scheduled for October? I know it's in Austin, Texas, the next hospitality show, but do you remember when it is?
I think it is in October, and I
October.
think
Yeah.
it's somewhere else, not in Austin, Texas.
No?
We
Okay.
probably should have
We
had
shall
that
see
in
and we'll
our
get back to you.
Yes.
And so I thought it was great. I thought it was great. It was very well organized. Questex really did an outstanding job. For everything from the media and the information that was available to us to be able to cover the entire show, to the food and beverage that was provided, to anything. It was really impeccable. And then obviously there's the Venetian.
Yes.
It's just such a beautiful property where things are so flawless and they pay attention to details, and you have all these hospitality presence with big eyeballs on your property, so that cannot be fun, right? So I
No.
think it was great. What do you think, Stephanie? What was your experience like?
No, I would say, yeah, it was great. I agree with, yeah, the educational moments. We also, too, we got to hang out with our friends at ComOps, which was pretty fun, too, to hanging out with them during the event. And to just, yeah, meeting and reconnecting with people who we've been engaging with for so long through LinkedIn. And now finally being able to meet them in person, or reconnect with them, and even new people as well. I mean, we've even had some people coming up to us and saying, "Oh, we follow your podcast." And I thought that was just so cool of,
Mm.
now having others being able to seek us out.
Very nice. Not that we're not real, because this is probably one of the most raw or rawest language barrier kicking in shows, podcasts out there, right? But this is like really getting real. It's like, what else can we share? That is great. Cool. Awesome. What else happened this summer?
Yeah, so let's now move into talking about our own experiences with what projects you've been working on, and in the hospitality industry. What trends were you seeing this summer?
All right. So I want to say that it was not all unicorns and rainbows. And obviously
Yeah.
my brain is wired the um, to see the area of opportunity. Right? What is it that we can do differently? What can we improve? And if I can focus on the great, I can tell you that I was able to have a phenomenal experience, and I'm gonna say the name because they deserve it, at the Legoland Resort, the Bricks Resort, actually, at the Carlsbad property in California. That's a trip that we had booked as a family in 2020, and they were able to reschedule it for us 5,000 times, and they were totally cool with it. And the experience was amazing. I have to tell you, I was not expecting the level of service that we received while we were there and the engagement from the team members. And the reason why I'm saying I wasn't expecting it is not because of the brand, but it has everything to do with the fact that it's a kids' resort, right?
Hmm.
So things are not as tight as they can be in a luxury resort. So the expectation was a little lower, perhaps because of that, because I knew it was going to be so many families transient in and out and so on. But it was really, really on point. So kudos to Legoland Carlsbad. I'm going to see if I can reach out to anyone there and we can bring them on and perhaps get their perspective and their experience as to why those little things are so important, like being asked, would you like to speak to the chef about any of the allergies that you have? You know what I mean? It's like you see
Hmm.
those things in high end. You don't see it at a theme park resort that you're catering children that are there for 1 or 2 nights. That's it. So that was a good. And then on the other hand, I struggled with all of the other areas that I visited. And again, perhaps it was my mode of looking for the area of opportunity was the poor execution of technology. I am a
Hmm.
strong
Hmm.
believer in technology. Client hospitality protects and advocates for technology and driving our service through tools that make sense. But these were issues that had to do with not executing on it properly, right?
Hmm.
From not communicating what's going to happen next to team members not really knowing how to manage around that tool or how to use it, or it not being the experience not being a friendly enough experience where I'm thinking I can figure it out. But then if there's a guest who's perhaps 30 years older than me, they may not be able to. Right. So I challenge everyone in tech out there, not only those, I think that the vendors have responsibility to help the operator figure out what the best way is to execute on this, because at the end of the day their brand is the one that is at risk, right? Oh, it didn't work. Well, it didn't work because it wasn't executed properly. So share, how can we better support you? So if you have a service team, go for supporting the operators when making those decisions and when training their team. And then on the side of the operators, what I would say is make sure the line level team understands why the technology is there and how can you troubleshoot on it, or how can you help the guest, or how can you help each other. So those are my two perhaps nuggets, the good and the bad, from the summer overall as a trend that I'm seeing.
Yes. I
What about
definitely,
you?
going along those lines with the technology is, I definitely seeing properties aren't embracing it, or they're wanting to embrace it, but then they have the excuse, oh, our staff won't know how to use it. And it goes to that proper training and checks and balance of, introducing the product, working with the team hands on with it. Also too, of being able to check in with the team, seeing if they have any feedback on the technology, or even also to what they feel may be able to be a tool to help them better take care of their guests, or even for them internally. And I feel that, yeah, the technologies, it's still an area where uh, the hotels need to improve upon. And also too, if we have the technology, so embrace it for doing your checks and balance of when you're changing the season and you're having your website, and now your website is all of
Mhm.
the items from the springtime or from last winter, and now it doesn't have that your summer amenities are open and still showing that it's not in use.
So that's funny that you say that, because you reminded me of an episode that we had, I think, sometime last year, where we talked about signage, right? Not only signage,
Yeah.
but then the programs or the activities that are happening on property. And one of the visits that I had to do throughout the summer, I was shopping a really, really, really nice property. And part of my audit had to do with aligning what activities are happening on property and making sure that we're on the right week, that we're communicating it properly, that
Yes.
it makes sense, and all these things, right? And what's the age group. And I went at the property. I was having dinner with a colleague, and I went by the activities area to ask for that. And she looked at me and she's like, "Why do you even want that? Like, you're not going to have a chance to do anything, and you didn't bring the children." And I was like, "No, I want to make sure that we are on the proper week, and that we're communicating the right thing, and that, the activities that are in place for those age groups make sense." So those are the things that sometimes we tend to forget when it comes to the detail as an operator. And you just hit the button and print, and you only had one job to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You just had to check it, just double check it. Anyway, sorry.
Yes. Or also too of whose responsibility it is to making sure the information that the guest is seeing, whether it be the signage, the activity calendar, even the menus that would be uploaded onto the TV. Whose responsibility is to checking, okay, yes, this has the correct information. Going with the menus is chef creates the menus, sends it off to the restaurant to print, and then restaurant's ready to take care of the guests with the updated menu. But does the concierge have the updated menu? Does the TV, for the guests have it? Does the website? Does other outlets, that a guest may inquire about the menu, do they have it? And so yes, lots of checks and balances are still needed for the team members.
So hopefully you will all go out there and make sure that the TV menus or the printed menus are not what you were serving in the spring, because we are in the summer and we're almost done with it. So soon enough, you will be, if you haven't yet started working on your fall menus or your fall activity planning, because a lot of resorts will do quarterly. So then that's definitely something that you got to get on,
Yes. And I
for
have
sure.
to say, added on from the technology. So also too on the trends of, it was a slower start to season, I
Yep.
feel. In the Northeast we had lots of rain, even the whole East Coast basically. We had a very rainy May, June, and July. So we were seeing a lot of guests that were booking really in the week for the week. And so usually we would see in the month for the month, but because of how much the weather affected, and then also too on the media of seeing, all these airports and delays and things that were going on, I feel that, that really hurts our guest bookings. And now I think we may see this trend going more into the fall and winter of a lot of more last minute booking instead of being able to forecast longer.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree. Any other trends that you have seen, or anything else that you want to share?
I think we'll start going this more into the fall, but the other part that I was seeing a lot was sustainability is moving more and more to the forefront. This is, happening at the executive, at the ownership levels, also too, even at the guest levels of guests asking, "What is your sustainability efforts?" And there was a few times that even front desk was like, wait, what are you talking about? What are you asking? And so I think, it'll be great for us to start talking about this more in the fall time of, what sustainability efforts are being done and how can different departments being able to promote the sustainability to their employees so then they can promote it to the guests.
Absolutely. And we know that the younger generation is very much in tune with the purpose of the organization or the brand that they'll be staying or supporting financially as you choose them and not someone else. And they have sustainability, the planet, and, all things considered green very top of mind. So if
Yes,
if you operate a resort that where that is not part of the conversation or has been part of the conversation for the last 5-10 years, then you have to get right on it for sure. Yep.
absolutely.
That's great.
Yes.
Great tip. Yep. Thank you
All
for
right,
that.
so we're ending our episode, and just like any other episode, we have our WTF moments. So, Michelle, did you have any WTF moment this summer?
I had many. It's very unfortunate to say this. I had many, but I am going to focus on one specifically. A restaurant in the Lake Tahoe area, just gonna say it, South Lake Tahoe area, outside of a resort, so it wasn't on a property, packed with team members, staff, like you could not believe. You're like, I'm on the South Shore. What's going on here? And there's all these people coming out of the kitchen, and they're all dressed in black, and they're moving like they know what they're doing. So this is not like a crew of new team members that are there for orientation. None of this. Dinner, right? Late, 9:30 or so, which it's rather late for dinner, right? So it wasn't an issue. The service wasn't an issue because of lack of staff, which is typically the problem in the South Lake Tahoe area. This was specifically not having management around. There was no manager, there was no supervisor, there was no
Hmm.
person directing the team. And more than likely, that team does not see a manager walking the floors ever, right? This was a Mexican restaurant, very nice Mexican restaurant. And the food was terrible. The temperature was terrible. The timing of the dishes was terrible. The experience was a disaster from the hostess that sat us to the last person that we interacted with that dropped our check or brought in to go box, whatever. It was so bad. It was just bad. So when we look at using the excuse of its lack of staff, it's really not. There are many times where if you're an owner, you should go into your restaurant, walk the floor, and understand, is there management presence? If there is not, are they stuck in the office with too much admin work to do? Or do they simply don't know how to guide their team? Are they making the effort to train their team on how to deliver that great experience? Because at the end of the day, there are so many options out there that people would just choose not to come back.
Hmm.
So that was my moment. What
Oh
about
my gosh,
yours?
I've experienced that.
We can only share one.
I know. I mean, going along those lines real quick with the restaurant, so many team members is, I do think that it's great that we're fulfilling positions, but then we're not directing the team of saying, okay, if it's quiet, don't all congregate right here around the service station. Walk around. And then even for the ownership to seeing, yes, is management having to now doing payroll and the requisitions? And then also, too, how is their relationship with culinary in the back of the house as well? We talked about so many episodes with silos. But in the restaurant too, this is here you have the front of the house and the back of the house, and the guests can see it when there is that disconnect that's happening. But yes, ran into that many times being on the road this past summer. We're just seeing the staff always just congregating and talking to each other. Meanwhile, I could just, would like my water to be filled. But my WTF moment, I'm going to give it to the airlines. So,
Oh, yay!
yes.
Hospitality
Uh,
in the skies. Do tell.
Yes, yes. So ran into a few delays coming and going from Vegas and other cities. And it's just, if there's the slightest hiccup and now the passengers going all crazy. But then the staff just not taking control and just letting everyone now fester in the frustration instead of just saying, this is what's happening. We'll let you know more information soon as we will know. And then when we land, following up and acknowledging the situation. So it was definitely lots of training that needs to happen up in the friendly skies.
Very nice. So, those of you up in the friendly skies, you know who to call if you need a little nudge when it comes to training your team on how to get out of those sticky situations. I agree with you. Communication is
Yeah.
so important. And
Yes.
again, leadership fails to provide their frontline agents or team members to with the tools that they need to be able to deal with those difficult conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is, the managers, they need their own checklists and checks and balance and knowing what to look at, how they need to be walking the floors. Cause we talk about how we have so many green managers and, they're still getting into learning more about being in management and giving them that checks and balance of a checklist for them as well to being like, oh yes, I need to making sure that I'm doing this, this, and this
Yeah.
amongst everything else.
Absolutely. Great. Well, great episode, Stephanie. Anything else you want to add? Can we wrap it up?
Yep, summer's over. As some people are ending their season, some are getting ready for their season.
Very nice. So we'll see everyone out there hopefully soon. And we'll be back with some more topic related episodes or topic focused episodes. But this was our summer shenanigans recap.
Yes,
Thank you for
wonderful.
being on the other side.